together, and we'll move.
Right.
We'll move when we reach it. Then, Deputy.
Okay, I'd like to discuss Amendment 8 as it relates to what the Minister has been saying in relation to the term of conviction that can become spent. And I have to say that I find her argument in relation to the 48 months not really doesn't really hold up when you consider, what we're talking about here in the Spent Convictions Bill is trying to bring us in line with other countries as well in terms of how they've looked at how spent convictions can be actually dealt with. And when you consider, when this bill was first brought in, I think in 2012, the 12 months at that time was seen as being possibly, we would have said they should have been longer at that stage, and we're talking about 2 years. But things have moved on considerably, even since that time. And this bill, as it stands now, if we stick with the 12 months, we'll actually be 35 or 40 years behind our nearest neighbours in the UK and even in the 6 counties in relation to what type of custodial sentence can be viewed as spent. And I don't believe that it's a reasonable explanation to say that the nature of some very serious offences could be classed as being spent convictions if we stick with the 4-year or the 48-month term, because I'm sure the department has had 3-4 years at this stage to actually review this bill, because it's that long since we've had committee stage and second stage, that I'm sure you could have devised a way to allow serious convictions like possession of firearms or possession of drugs, that they couldn't be classed as spent, and it would have been technically possible to actually do that. And I think for very many cases, for people who maybe at a time in their life, maybe in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, had a difficult time where they ended up before the courts and received custodial sentences, and years later on would be seen as being completely out of character with that person. They are not able to move on from that situation at all at any stage, and that's really the crux of why we should be looking at being progressive and actually going to the 48 months and that as well, to allow for that period. And that was supposedly the whole idea of spent convictions bill, was to allow people to be able to be rehabilitated, be able to move on, be able to recover their lives. And in cases where people have convictions going back maybe 40, 50 years and still being penalised for those. I know of one case where somebody received a conviction 44 years ago and they're now in their early 60s, and they can't actually get insurance because of that conviction going back that length of time. And that's the kind of thing we should be looking at, and people through no fault of their own, but having a very difficult time at a certain point in their lives, are going to have to carry that through for the rest of their lives. And I think we could really have found a way to ensure that convictions up to the 48 months, excluding those what are very serious convictions, whether they are the armed robbery or whatever, or possession of firearms, they could have been picked out of this, and I'm sure that it would have been within the wherewithal of the department to actually do that.